Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we'll look into the rise of the quiet yet deadly NBA superstar Kawhi Leonard. Winning his second championship in Toronto was the highlight of his career, and everyone started to really pay attention to his game. So today's topic is NBA legends and more on how good Kawhi Leonard is. So let's get into the video.
I don't care about being the best player. I want to be the best team. I always said that, and
The Clippers had it tough after losing to the Denver Nuggets after being up 3-1. Kawhi and Paul George took a lot of heat for letting the series slip out from underneath them. This season, the Clippers are third in the West, so can Kawhi help them make it to the finals this year? Check out what NBA legends and more think of Kawhi Leonard.
We look at how the narrative on him was really bad. And look what he turned around when healthy and was able to do, lead that team to the championship.
I think this right here, when I look back at this era of the NBA of super teams, big threes, this right here is one of the single greatest runs by an individual that I've seen in a very long time. And I would compare this to Dirk Nowitzki because he only had one other all-star on his team. If you look at the champions within the last 10 to 15 years, they all were super teams or had a big three or had 3 all-stars with MVP candidates. I mean, Kawhi really just put this team, this country on his shoulders after being just last year, after going, I mean, he's been a dynasty killer. He stopped the Miami Heat run after they won 2 in a row, and now he stopped the Golden State run. This is what we saw tonight, guys, was the end of the dynasty here.
If he can make the Clippers a championship team, where does that rank as far as an achievement in this league?
I mean, he's already up there with the all-time greats based on this last year's performance. I mean, he has nowhere but up to go. I mean, he's still young, he's still in his prime, and Kawhi is already, in my eyes, a top, probably like 30 player all time.
All those things Kawhi Leonard did, is that putting too much responsibility? Because they would need 3 more wins to get out of this series.
No.
No.
He's a beast.
He can take it.
He's a beast. He can take it. I mean, that's what great players do. They want to run the whole race. They don't want to be taken out. And that's what we're seeing in him. And he knew the importance of that game. That was basically the closing game for them if they didn't come through. So to defend your home court, to come in and fight through the struggles, the injuries, or whatever he was dealing with throughout that game, he just laid it all out on the line. And to have a teammate like that, and I've had one like that.
Yep.
You have. Those guys elevate everybody else. Obviously, his teammates knew that he was injured in that game, but the battle to stay in the game and to stay out there on that floor says so much about that young man.
Kawhi is a player who lets his actions speak for itself. He's a man of few words, so maybe that's why people tend to forget about him. Underrated or not, he's one of the best players in the NBA, so let's get back to watching NBA legends and more on how good Kawhi is.
In my interview with Charles on the radio yesterday, I asked him about Kawhi Leonard, and I asked him where Kawhi would rank in his mind if he's able to lead the Clippers to a title and win the Finals MVP with a 3rd different team. He'd be the first player ever to do it. Here's what Barkley said.
Well, I think you have to put him probably behind LeBron. During my era, no disrespect to Kareem, Bill Russell, Kareem, and Wilt, and Oscar Robertson, Michael, Kobe, LeBron are my 3 greatest players after those guys. I think if Kawhi's able to win his 3rd MVP in the finals, he might be right behind LeBron.
Interesting thoughts there from Sir Charles. Jalen, you and I love kicking this stuff around. What do you think as far as Kawhi and his place all time if he pulls this up? I'm looking at the look on your face. What is it?
Wow, my head is spinning with these greatest of all time conversations. So we can't just judge the result, okay? Kawhi Leonard is a fantastic player, and I'm a huge fan of his. But I can't just put in my mind that he can win the championship this year, and now all of a sudden he's going to leapfrog to one of the 3 greatest players to ever play basketball. I think that his success is well been earned. Basically, how he made himself into a player in San Antonio, a lockdown defender, became an all-star, a finals MVP, did something heroic in Toronto by winning the championship his 1 season there and really validated his greatness by the way he played and going on to win finals MVP. And now playing with the Clippers, his home state squad, a team that has never won the championship. But even if they do win the championship this year, I can't be like, oh, he one of the top 5 players that have ever played. That just surprised me with that conversation that we're having it right now.
Yeah, I don't. Yes, he was saying basically in his era. So, but I didn't get the follow up because at some point you run out of time. So I didn't know if he was including Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas and others who played just slightly before Charles did. But even with that, I'm looking at your face.
So I'm gonna close by saying this. Barkley saying what he said. Here's the thing that bothers me about Barkley's true comments. They shouldn't be. Because what we should be able to say is this. LeBron got hurt. Prior to him getting hurt, he was averaging 27 and 7 last year. He finished with those averages. He got hurt, and this is the first game of this season. So we shouldn't be saying that. The reason why we're saying it is not just because of Kawhi's ascension, but because we've seen LeBron take too many plays off, and we've seen him not prioritize games like this.
And
that's
there's
a problem.
something about Kawhi, and some of this has to do with the fact that he's in his prime and LeBron is no longer, right? Part of that is that. There's something about Kawhi. When the bully has heart, that's a problem. Like Lawrence Taylor in his prime, or MJ or Kobe. Those dudes were bullies with character, with heart. So, you're going to stand up to the bully. He does not care. He's going to keep doing it because he's got depth and that's Kawhi. No pulse, completely unafraid of the moment, bullying LeBron James right now. And if you answer back, Kawhi's still got an answer for you. He's not going to
be a Hall of Fame coach. I think he's going to bring all the stuff that Pops taught him and that whole kind of culture of the Spurs. He's going to bring that with him. And I think that by the time he gets to that bench, he's going to be processing a lot of stuff himself and saying, okay, this is what I got to do. And I think Kawhi's at that level. He's going to process a lot. But I do agree, the Popovich factor is huge. But I just believe in that kid a lot. I'm just a big fan of his, and I just think he's going to explode this year with a big year.
I thought the same thing when I watched. Exact. It was a different mannerism when he came off the bench, came off the floor. It was totally different.
Yeah.
And that is what scares me. And what he has to be for me now is what LeBron James is. He has to go and impose Kawhi Leonard to every team now. Where before he was part of a system. As great as he was in San Antonio, it was still, man, that damn system's pretty good too. So now it's Kawhi Leonard is imposing the system around him. And he has to take a mentality that LeBron takes when he's gone to Miami, when he's come back to Cleveland, which is, I don't think he's ever done or had to do.
You guys make a great point about switching teams and going to a different environment, a different culture. And San Antonio has really been the epitome of greatness the last 20 years in the NBA. But Toronto, and Nick Nurse is a first-time coach, but they had a pretty good environment there. It's not like LeBron going to the Lakers where, they hadn't been in the playoffs for 3 or 4 years. They were the number 1 seed last year, yeah. Number 1 seed, and LeBron's in the West now. Right. I think Kawhi, in his quiet way, I just think what he does, I don't care where you put him. I just feel like he's going to do what Kawhi does.
But granted,
I don't mean they can win a championship.
No, I'm saying.
But I just think in terms of getting to the conference finals in a very weak Eastern Conference, I'd give Toronto the nudge over Philly.
I think you can understand
the great players. And when you play against a majority of your opponents, there's a fear. You can sense it. You can feel it. And when Kawhi goes against LeBron, when he goes against Durant, I don't sense any fear. I don't sense, he doesn't back down. LeBron may outplay him or Kevin Durant, but they're going to have to work for every point they get.
You know what, though?
And so to me, when you're wired a certain way, I know his personality is a little bit different. He's a little bit more, look, I agree. Everybody needs to be pushed.
But this is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Do you think he can play this much defense on Giannis the way he did, Scotty, and still be effective at the other end, or he's going to get worn down?
I think he can. I think we saw something in that game last night that could possibly change this series, and that's putting Kawhi on Giannis. And also, as he said, utilizing his teammates. It was definitely a team effort to stop Giannis, but I think physically he showed that he can match his physicality.
Kawhi Leonard is averaging 26 points per game on shooting 51.5% from the field. His shooting percentages are some of the best in his career. So let's see if he has it in him to win his 3rd championship on his 3rd NBA team, which not many have done. So thanks for tuning in to watch today's episode. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.